Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am in the studio with All-American defensive back and return specialist Trey Palmer. The Bethel Threshers this weekend played number 16 Kansas Wesleyan. It was a heartbreaking loss, but Trey went ahead and had a 65-yard pick six in that game. He had a great game individually. He's had a great start to the season so far himself individually as well. First things first, I'll let kind of Trey introduce himself, and then we'll get going off that.
My name is Trey Palmer. My real name is Lewis William Palmer III. I go by Trey because I'm Lewis III. I am born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but I'm from Houston, Texas. And I came to Bethel because, I just was recruited really hard by a coach, Eric Kelly, and I just felt like it was the best decision of my life.
Cool. We always love to hear that. I as well was recruited here for a sport as well, and all I hear is that it was just a lot of the athletes here loved it, and it was just the best decision they ever made. Next up here, I was just going to ask Trey kind of how he felt about the game. They had a tough loss this week to a really tough opponent. The Threshers were ranked number 10 coming into this weekend, and they played number 16 Kansas Wesleyan. It was the NAIA Game of the Week, so it was definitely a big high-stakes game for them. How do you feel, Trey, that you guys played overall as a team in that game?
I didn't feel like we played as like our best game, but we played pretty hard. We tried to fight to the end, but I feel like we could have did a lot better on both sides of the ball and special teams.
I understand. Kansas Wesleyan's passing offense is one of the best, from what I could see from the NAIA, and so as Trey, as a defensive back, you did your own. Why don't you go ahead and walk us through your 65-yard pick six?
Oh well, our coach already told us they were gonna have probably one of the top 5 best stats like on the offensive side of the ball through the whole year. Their offense is really good. But I came in Saturday knowing the quarterback didn't have any interceptions thrown this year, and I was like, I'm going to be the first one to have that. So basically, the play the receiver ran a 5-yard hitch, and the quarterback was on the other side of the field. So I took my read steps, and I just saw the play happening before it even happened, and I took a good jump at the ball, and it was just daylight from there.
Trey Palmer gets an open space, he's gone.
Oh yeah.
If you guys didn't know, Trey Palmer also is on the track team with me as well. Last year was in the Leixings with Kemroy Cupid, a Bethel legend in the track and field area. Kemroy was the fastest in the country last year in the 60 indoor, and Trey was always right there behind him. Him and Kemroy battled back and forth between that 60-meter record, and then as soon as outdoor came, they did the same thing with the 100-meter record. So Trey has that multi-sport ability and blazing speed once he gets into the open field. What's kind of a message for you guys now as a team after having a hard conference loss like that? What is Coach Harrison kind of telling you guys after a game like that?
Basically, he tells us whenever a team loses, they always play better the next week. So basically, we're just focused on getting better for this next week. Play against Ottawa this week, and then we have 2 more tough games for week 5 and week 6. So really, we're just trying to focus on our key points, like what we messed up on last game and just the fundamentals of the regular stuff.
What do you guys got to do this week to get a win against Ottawa? Get back on track.
We just focus on the guys that we need to focus on. Defense, just take out guys that we feel like are really good and just get pressure on the QB. Then offense, just focus on what they need to do, blocking and just running the ball.
For sure. I'm sure a lot of you know that the Threshers are I'm not even going to say they're the top rushing team in the country. Last year, it was regardless of division, so NCAA, NJCAA, the NAIA, the Threshers were the number 1 running offense with that flex bone. They run the ball very well offensively. Kind of wanted to ask you about a little bit of your high school accolades, kind of how you were in high school as well. So where did you go to high school?
So I went to 3 different high schools.
Oh, wow, okay.
I lived in Louisiana at first, and I went to Santa Mont High School in Prairieville, Louisiana for my freshman year. And I didn't really play football as much, but I was more of a basketball player then.
Okay.
So then I moved out here to Houston, Texas with my dad, and I went to a private school, Lutheran South Academy, for my sophomore and junior year.
Okay.
And I played track, football, and basketball there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really started to love football.
Yeah.
and I was actually a receiver then. I haven't played defensive back until my senior year in high school.
Wow, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, so I changed to a public school my senior year of high school, Shadow Creek High School in Pearland, Texas. And that was probably another great decision I made
Yeah.
school-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they were just starting division play, so like that was our first year in district play. And we actually went 15-1. We lost the state championship game against a good Highland Park school in Dallas. So that was one of the greatest experiences I've had as far as like sports and school and stuff like that. We went everywhere across the state of Texas, played some really good teams, and it was just great. It was like a great experience for me, and I think it just prepared me for college and stuff like that, because the coaches there, basically like college coaches, they know what they're talking about. Most of them played in college, so
that's cool.
It was just a great experience for me.
For sure. So championship experience for you prior to your KCAC championship here at Bethel.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I didn't know that here, folks, so you're hearing it here first. What's your favorite part about Bethel football? Like, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, hey, I'm a part of Bethel football. Like, what does really get your blood pumping about that?
And just the winning atmosphere. I mean, like, our coaches just focus on small things. Like, they're not even into big things, getting us everything. Like, we just have, like, a shed as a locker room. Like, nobody focuses on those type of things. We just focus on what we need to do to win as a team and win as a program. Like, just focus on the program.
For sure. He even has his winning ways in track as well. Like I was saying, he lost to Kemroy, but I mean, when you're losing to the best sprinter in the country, that's not too bad. So he was also winning out on the track as well. Last kind of question here. In the future, I'll continue to keep having athletes come onto the show, whether they're Thresher athletes in basketball or football. I'll try to bring them on. I'm really good friends with Ball is Life sensation Brennan Rigsby. He's from the same hometown as me. A couple years ago, for Wasatch Academy, they had one of the best high school basketball teams in the nation, and he had a viral East Bay dunk that just blew up, and he's got a big following from that. And he made his decision to go to a JUCO, and so we'll have him on the show in a couple of weeks. But I want to go ahead and ask all my athletes when I bring them on this following question of, if you could give freshman Trey Palmer, when he was in high school, one piece of advice, now that you know what you know now, about to go into this is your junior year, correct? About to go into your senior year next year, what is that piece of advice that you would tell freshman Trey?
Oh, man, I would just tell them to go hard. Like, I mean, a lot of coaches and people tell you to go hard and hit the weight room and just give it your all every time. I mean, we're not really thinking about the future then, but now that I'm looking back on it, like, I feel like I could have been way better, way more impactful if I would have worked out a little bit more, gave it my all a little bit more. I mean, really just focus more.
For sure. Also being an athlete as well, I always look back and think what I could have done better when I was younger to make myself more prepared for now. And the weight room is definitely one thing I always talk to myself about too as well. Being from Louisiana, I know you're a New Orleans Saints fan.
Definitely.
We'll talk about the Saints today on the show. I just thought maybe I could get a little quick bite of how you think the Saints have started the year. You like Jameis Winston? You like?
Oh yeah, first game we were looking pretty good. I mean, I was excited about it, but I mean, this last game, it wasn't looking too good for us against the Panthers. But we had a lot of key defensive players missing, so.
For sure. There's lots of Marshawn Lattimore, right?
Yeah,
that's big.
Alexander. Once we get those guys back, we should be pretty good.
Yeah, I like the Saints' chances this year. I like Jameis Winston as a quarterback. He always has been a good quarterback. Just needed to make better on the field decisions because he throws a lot of interceptions.
Definitely.
But with a division like that, after losing to Carolina's a better team in that division, and of course Tampa Bay's in that division. It's a tough division this year for sure in the NFC South.
Yes, sir.
Well, with that being said, loved having Trey on the show here tonight, this morning. Hopefully they can get back on track next week versus Ottawa, and Trey can continue to have a great season. He already has 2 picks on the year, right? 2 picks on the year. Even had a punt return earlier this year. So he's all-around talent all over the field. Whenever he gets the ball, it's super electric. Gonna keep watching him this year, and watch for his name in the track world too, because he dominates there too. He's gonna try to try to run at the national meet again this year, both indoor and outdoor.
Indoor, outdoor,
Try to
yes,
expect. Well, with that being said, Trey, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Latham. Good. Yes, sir. Keep recording.
Thanks, Trey.
For sure, man. Let me know when that's uploaded. I'll put it out there.
All right, so that was great having Trey on the show. I'm going to continue to try to have local athletes from Bethel on the show. I know the majority of my listeners are probably going to be Bethel alumni and people from Bethel community, so I would like to keep trying to do that for you guys to try to give you guys inside looks at the Thresher athletes, so you guys can get to know people like Trey off the field, on the field. You know what Trey loves about Bethel, what their game plans are for their teams and stuff like that. So I really love to bring them on for sure. Well, if you fell asleep early last night, you missed a Baltimore Ravens upset over Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Not gonna lie, I went into that game as a Ravens fan with absolutely no confidence. We were really banged up in the secondary, and I thought Patrick Mahomes was absolutely going to torch us. And that was not the case at all. Big win for the Ravens last night. We'll get into that later in the show. Let's go ahead and get a rundown of what we got going on today. Of course, today I said we were going to go over the NFC division winners as well as the playoff seeding for the NFC. I got that pulled up and stuff here ready to go. After we give the rundown for my NFC predictions, finally we'll be more in focus on what's happening on a week-to-week basis. I just wanted to throw out my predictions for the year so that at the end of the year we could go back and look at that kind of stuff for sure. So after we give that little rundown of my NFC playoff seeding and division winners, we'll go ahead and roll right into my week 2 predictions, or my week 2 thoughts. My week 2 thoughts. We'll go over every single game. I try to do a good job at watching every game, getting a good grasp of every game and how it went for sure. So we'll run through every single game individually, and then of course at the end we'll have a last little snippet of talking about the Ravens in depth specifically, of course, because I'm a Ravens fan. And then at the end of the show we'll go ahead and talk fantasy football, which was not too good for your boy this week, but sometimes it just happens in fantasy football. It's a week-to-week basis. So let's go ahead and run through our NFC division winners here. My predictions for the NFC division winners. All right, starting things out in the NFC East. This is, of course, the worst division in football. A lot of memes about this division all the time. And so I felt like everybody, for some reason, is going to pick the Cowboys to win this division. And I just don't feel the same. I don't feel like the Cowboys' defense is good enough to win them this division. This division lacks offensive power. It lacks a lot of really good offensive talent. But I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles have the pieces both offensively and defensively, and that's why I give the Eagles the edge over the Cowboys. I just feel like offensively the Eagles have been great to start the year. Jalen Hurts has started the year pretty well, and then Devontae Smith is getting into his own. Miles Sanders is running the ball well. The offensive line for the Eagles is playing well. Of course, their defense played fantastic against Atlanta. This week they battled a hard 49ers team, and I thought I picked them to win that one in an upset, but they battled hard against San Francisco. So if they can battle hard against a team like San Francisco, who is a Super Bowl contender, I believe at the beginning of the year they were third in the Vegas odds to win the Super Bowl behind Tampa and Kansas City. So that's a title contending team that they lost to by 6 on a play where I think he threw it to Devontae Smith, threw a touchdown to Devontae Smith, and it got called back because Devontae Smith barely stepped out of bounds. So they definitely had that game, the Eagles. For the Eagles to say they can hang with the 49ers that early gives me a lot of confidence to say that the Eagles can go ahead and win that division. The NFC West is, of course, the division where you can say, I'll take the Cardinals, I'll take the Rams, I'll take the Seahawks, and I'll take the 49ers, and you're probably going to be right. you got a 1-4 shot with them. It's not, when you pick other division winners, it's pretty heavy. You can say, okay, Kansas City's going to win their division. Green Bay's going to win their division. With this NFC West division, it's just like, you know, I went back and forth with this when I made my predictions, and I'm going to say, just because I feel like sometimes when you underestimate a team, it makes a team better, and sometimes when you overestimate a team, they think they have to explode. They think that they have to do well, and then they end up choking, or they end up not performing to the abilities that they're supposed to. And everybody slept on the Arizona Cardinals this year, and they did everything they needed to do this offseason to get better. Like I said last week in the pod, they picked up J.J. Watt. Are you kidding me? That's a Hall of Famer. To match up with Chandler Jones. And then they went ahead on the offensive end. He's older, but they went ahead and picked up A.J. Green. Ever since Kyler Murray has gotten to Arizona, Arizona's been doing everything they can to get better and better and better. So while I don't think in this instance the Cardinals have the best all-around division, I feel like this division is just so you can't make a solid decision with this division. So I'm picking the Arizona Cardinals to win the NFC West over Seattle. Seattle would have been my next bet to win the division. Here we go on to the NFC North. The NFC North is going to be Green Bay. It's not even close. The Vikings in Week 1 played really bad. They were able to, I believe they edged out a win. Let me double check real quick just to make sure I'm speaking at the facts here. Give me just a moment. I believe they played. Yeah. Excuse me. They played the Cardinals and they lost that game. That's right. They missed a last-second field goal against the Cardinals, so the Vikings are 0-2 right now, and that's the team. That's the only other team in that division I feel like would have a shot to maybe take that title from the Packers. I really like Jared Goff, but I just don't think they have the weapons around Jared Goff defensively. It's the defense, really. The offense isn't actually quite as bad as some people may think. With DeAndre Swift, Jared Goff, Kenny Galladay, they're not as bad as people think they are, for sure. But the Lions don't really have a chance in that division. And then, of course, the NFC South probably has to be the easiest one, and that's going to be Tampa Bay. They've been off. I mean, Tom Brady just threw 5 touchdowns. He just threw 5 touchdowns last week, and they just blew out Atlanta 48-25. So Tampa Bay is for sure the team to beat in the NFC all around, and that will go ahead and lead me into my NFC Playoff Seeding, where I'll have Tampa Bay at the 1 seed. I have their playoff seeding as well as their overall predicted records like I did last week for the AFC. So Tampa Bay, they're off to a 2-0 start right now. I am going to hope. It's so hard to predict a team to have only 2 or 3 losses because you feel like, okay, they should beat these teams. Tampa Bay should beat, whoever. But, of course, there's always going to be a game or two throughout the year that a team will slip up. For example, Baltimore slipping up to the Raiders. The Ravens should be 2-0 right now, but of course they slip up to a team like the Raiders, so that's stuff you always can't predict. You try to predict upsets, but it's hard to, obviously, sometimes. Tampa, I'm going to go ahead and have them at the 1 seed. They're the 1 seed lock for sure. I went back and forth with their record. There's some people saying that Tampa Bay is going to go 17-0, and obviously, that's probably never going to happen again, especially in this day and age where every team has good players, and all it takes is one bad night for a team to lose to even a lesser team. So Tampa Bay I'm going to have them go 15-2, and it was really hard for me to give them only 2 losses. And I'm saying they're going to lose 1 division game to Carolina, and then they're going to lose an out-of-division game to the Rams, and that would leave them with a 15-2 record. I went back and forth with that. I wanted to make them 14-3, but I really got to looking at their schedule, and out-of-division play really didn't look that tough outside of a couple matchups against like Green Bay. Their out-of-division schedule. That's what it really came down to. Was I think Tampa Bay is leaps and bounds better than every team in their division. And out of division, they didn't really have that tough of a schedule. And that's what I really looked at when I was making a lot of, especially for the NFC, when I was making my predictions and my record predictions, is that how are these teams' schedules out of division? Because I know some of these teams are going to struggle in division, but how does their out of division play look? So for Tampa Bay, I have them at the 1 seed, 15-2. Green Bay, I have them at the 2 seed at 14-3, and that might sound a little crazy right now, but I did make these predictions prior to the season starting. I just didn't get to put them out before the season started. So Washington, I'm saying that their 3 losses are going to be to the Washington football team, the Los Angeles Rams, and they'll lose to the Arizona Cardinals. I feel like those are some pretty those are games that they could lose. Washington is a team that might go into Green Bay and surprise Green Bay, and that might be the upset win that I'm looking for with a good team losing a game that they shouldn't. Already Green Bay lost to the Saints last week, a game they probably shouldn't have lost. And then at the 3 seed, I'm going to have Philadelphia, and I really like the Philadelphia Eagles this year. People forget that last year, Jalen Hurts, it is a couple of starts because they were having a lot of off-the-field problems with Carson Wentz last year. And right up till the end, when they finally made the move for Jalen Hurts came in and he played great. He played fantastic. I don't know if you guys remember, but the Saints were like 11-2 or something last year, and Jalen Hurts came into New Orleans, I believe, and upset the top-seeded New Orleans Saints. So I saw the sparks last year for Jalen Hurts and this offense. And then they got better this year offensively, and their defense is still great. They still have great defensive players on that side of the ball. So I have Philadelphia going 15-3. I think they don't lose any division games. That's my bold statement there for Philadelphia. Is they go undefeated in division. Their only losses are going to be out of division to the Chiefs, Tampa Bay. And they'll lose 1 game to the Cowboys. My fault. So they'll go 7-1 in division, losing one game to the Cowboys. So I have Philadelphia at 14-3, losing just that one to the Cowboys. And I know a lot of people are going to think that's crazy. Philadelphia going 15-3 when they didn't even make the playoffs last year. I'm going to take just a second here to pull up their full schedule, and I'll run down some of these games for you as far as Philadelphia's schedule. And again, try to think of this prior to the season starting. So next week they have the Cowboys, a very winnable game. Cowboys defense lacks talent, and I don't know what the status of Dexter Lawrence is, but not having Dexter Lawrence is going to just play more into that Eagles run game favor, because like the Ravens, the Eagles run a lot of pistol stuff. They run a lot of RPOs, read option stuff. So Jalen Hurts is going to run kind of the same way Lamar Jackson does, and Miles Sanders has been playing well. So they're going to run the ball well against the Cowboys if the Cowboys don't get a big guy like Dexter Lawrence back in there. Then they have the Chiefs, which I said they were going to lose to the Chiefs. Then they play a good game here is going to be Philadelphia versus Carolina. I feel like that's going to be 2 up-and-coming teams that are going to have a pretty good game there. And then they lose to the Tampa Bay. So, like I said, they have that front, they have the Chiefs, and they have Tampa. They have the 2 title contenders, right? The reigning division champs, or conference champs. Then they got Raiders, winnable game. Once someone knocks the Raiders off their high horse, they're gonna be the normal team that they are, not an average team at best. Then they got a Lions, easy winnable game. A battle here with the Chargers. I have the Chargers falling to the Eagles in this one just because the Chargers have to go to Philadelphia. That was the main choice behind that one. Same case with the Broncos. When someone knocks the Broncos off their high horse, they got to win against the Broncos. At the beginning of the year, the Saints were not a good team that we expected them to be. So I have the Saints, or I have them beating the Saints. Then they're going to beat the Giants. They're going to beat the Jets. They're going to beat Washington. They're going to beat the Giants. They end the year. Giants, Jets, Washington, Giants, Washington, Cowboys. So they end the year stacked for division play. And they're out of division play. They're playing teams like the Jets. They're playing teams like the Lions. They're playing teams like the Broncos. Those are easy. I wouldn't say easy teams, sorry. They're lesser teams to the Eagles. So that's why, even though it's crazy to think that I have them to going 14-3, that's why I have them going 14-3, because that out of the division play doesn't look. It looks like they can win those out of division games. And then at the 4 seed, I have Seattle. I absolutely went so back and forth with this. Or excuse me. Oh, so I have my NFC West division winner to be Seattle, not Arizona. I must have messed with it later and didn't realize I changed it. So Seattle, I have at the 4 seed. They'll be the least amount of wins as far as division winners, so I have them at the 4 seed. 13-4 is the record I'm going to give Seattle. I say they lose to the Rams, to the Packers, to the Cardinals, and the 49ers. Same case here with the Seattle Seahawks that I had with the Eagles is in division, they're going to have some games. They're going to have some good games in division. But outside of the division, they didn't play that great of teams outside of division aside from Green Bay. So, of course, they lost this last week to the Titans in a game that they should have won. But out of division, they play the Vikings. They're better than the Vikings. Out of division, they play the Saints. They're, again, like I said, this was before the season. They're better than the Saints. They play a bad Jags team. They play a bad Houston team. They play a bad Lions team. Look at you got them playing the Lions, even the Bears. They're playing the Lions, the Bears, the Texans, and the Jags. Those are some of the worst teams. Those are teams that are going to be lottery picks in the draft. Out of division, I felt like Seattle had the worst out of division play in this as far as the NFC West goes. When I was looking at their schedules and looking at who the 49ers play, who the Cardinals play, who do the Rams play, I felt like out of division, Seattle had the lesser opponents to what the other teams in the division were having to play. So Seattle at the 4 seed with a 13-4 record. At the 5 seed, I have Arizona because, like I was saying, I wanted to pick Arizona to win the division. I have them going 12-5 at the 5 seed, losing to the Rams both times, splitting games with Seattle and San Francisco, and having the out-of-division loss against the Carolina Panthers. Arizona is off to a good start this year, of course. Arizona struggles in division historically. Last year, they were good. Last year, too, they were playing great out of division. They beat the Bills and stuff last year out of division. And they just struggled in division, and that's what really halted them. They were in the playoff hunt for a good majority of the season last year. They just fell short because they lost interdivision games. And you have to, first things first, when you're trying to make the playoffs in the NFL, is you have to win division games. Because if you can go, I mean, we saw last year with the Washington football team, you can go 6-10 or 7-9 and still make the playoffs if you win division. If you're winning your division games, if you go undefeated in division, you automatically get a top 4 seed. So it doesn't matter what your record is. If Dallas goes 11-5, but you are undefeated in division, you win the division because you were undefeated in division. It's because they seed it, the top 4 seeds, by division winners. So Arizona's going to finally break through this year and make the playoffs. I just think they struggled historically in division, and that might continue this year because everybody in that division got better from last year. San Francisco had a lot of injuries last year. They get all those injury guys back this year. The Rams reloaded and got better. And then, who am I forgetting? Oh, Seattle. They went and got the pieces they needed, right? They got some more weapons for Russ. Russ got mad this offseason, said, I want these pieces, give me these guys. So they're doing things in Seattle as well to get better. So every team got better, just like how Arizona got better. And Arizona struggled in division last year. At the 6th seed, and this is probably lower than a lot of people have the Rams, but at the 6 seeds I have the Rams at the 6 seed with a 12-5 record, losing to the Seahawks, the 49ers both times, losing to Baltimore, and losing to Minnesota. I think I didn't believe as much of the hype as everybody was saying about Matthew Stafford at the beginning of the year. He's played well, of course, to start the year. Him and Cooper Kupp were firing on all cylinders last night. But I have kind of the same story for the Rams last year, is the Rams struggled in division last year as well. I think the Rams won the NFC East last year, if I'm not mistaken. But they lost a lot of out of division games last year. Yeah, because they won the division, so they lost a lot of out of division games last year. This year I have them losing 2 out of division games to the Ravens and the Vikings. So I got Los Angeles at a 12-5 record, and then for the 7th seed I have Carolina at a 12-5 record as well. I have them losing a lot of out-of-division games as well. Carolina kind of had a tough schedule, and that's why I didn't have them ranked as high. I thought I was going to have them, before I looked at the schedule, I thought I was going to have Carolina ranked a lot higher, but they have a kind of a tough out-of-division schedule. So out-of-division, they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Washington football team out of division, and those are 4 of their 5 losses. I have them losing. And then I have them splitting, winning 1, losing 1 versus Tampa. So that gives them a 12-5 record. They have, like I said, they have a tough out-of-division record. I really like Carolina. I really think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. Between the Chargers, the Eagles, and Carolina, those are my 3 sleeper teams this year that I think didn't make the playoffs last year, that have a real shot of making the playoffs this year, both in their respective conferences. And then, just as a team, I kind of wanted to slide in and out. I wanted to talk about San Francisco. If Carolina didn't look as good in the offseason, so they get Christian McCaffrey back, they go out and they get a guy like Sam Darnold, who's a good quarterback. They just got to understand that over in New York with the Jets, it's a tire fire over there. They are bad. That's a bad football team in New York. And so it's all about situation. It's all about who you're with, who you're playing with, who your coaching staff is, and it's showing right now. It's showing because a guy like Mac Jones, who's playing really well right now, with a great Patriots team, has just dominated a guy like Zach Wilson. But we'll talk about that in a second. So San Francisco is going to be my 8 seed, and the 8 seed is the 1 seed out because they take 7 teams to the playoffs. It was kind of like the AFC North and on the AFC side of things. I put the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Browns all into the playoffs because I think the AFC is a lot more top heavy than the NFC is. There's a lot more good teams in the AFC. When you talk about overall Super Bowl contenders, you're talking about Kansas City, obviously. Then you go Tampa, and then you say the Bills, you say the Ravens, you say Cleveland. Cleveland has been at the top of a lot of people's Super Bowl boards. And so when I'm saying that's 5 teams right there, and 4 of those teams are Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. So I think the AFC is a lot more top-heavy. And so that's why that's why I threw all 3 of those teams in the NFC North in there. And I almost kind of wanted to do the same thing in the NFC. But if it wasn't for Carolina, I had a feeling, okay? Sometimes you just got to say a wild thing here and there, and maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but you had to take the shot. Because I'm going to say San Francisco doesn't make the playoffs, and Carolina's going to snag that last seed from them. And it's going to be because San Francisco's just in that tough division. If you really took out San Francisco, the Rams, the Seattle, and Arizona, and you threw them all in the other 3 divisions and split them up evenly in those 4 divisions, I think all 4 of them would probably win their divisions. So we'll run back through it real quick one more time. So I got Tampa at the 1 seed with a 15-2 record, Green Bay at the 2 seed with a 14-3 record, Philadelphia at the 3 seed with a 14-3 record as well. Seattle at the 4 seed with a 13-4 record. Arizona at the 5 seed with a 12-5 record. Los Angeles Rams at the 6 seed with a 12-5 record. Carolina at the 7 seed, taking the last spot in the wild card at a 12-5 record, and just missing the cut will be San Francisco. Is my predictions for the NFC side of the seedings. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get into the week 2 thoughts. Tried to write as much stuff down as I could for every single game, and I wanted to start things off with what happened this week. 4 quarterbacks went down this week. Tua went down. Tyrod went down. Even Ryan Fitzpatrick. And there's one more, and I can't think of who it is. Baker went down. 4 quarterbacks this week. It felt like every 5 minutes I was watching, and they were like, "Oh, breaking news! Quarterback goes down." I'm like, "Oh wow." So in lieu of that, Taylor Heineke. I like this kid. I like Taylor Heineke a lot. Taylor Heineke played well. He went. He played a division. So this was a big division game. This is a game. I think Washington has got a chance in that division. They won the division last year late, but Taylor Heineke went in there and played one heck of a game versus the Giants. On a short week, Ryan Fitzpatrick got injured on Sunday, and then they had to come back, and he had to play right back again on Thursday, and he played well. He had 340-something yards. He threw a late interception that almost costed them the game, but when they needed him the most, he played well. He got a big win in a division game over the Giants. So I really like Taylor Heineke. A lot of people have been talking about how the Washington football team could be Super Bowl contenders if they could get an elite quarterback. Not saying that Taylor Heineke's an elite quarterback, but I like Taylor Heineke in that offense. He looked great. He looked comfortable. He looked poised. He made good decisions. I like Taylor Heineke. The first game on Sunday was the Raiders versus the Steelers, and they shocked the Steelers. I don't know what is going on with the Raiders right now. Sometimes everything just clicks for a team, and they just get on fire. They play well, and that is exactly what's happening in Las Vegas right now. I don't think the Raiders are. They're not legit. They're not the real deal. They have to play in division. They have to play against Kansas City. In division, they have to play against even the Broncos. Really, honestly, the Broncos have played well this year. They have to play the Broncos. They have to play Kansas City, and then they have to play Los Angeles. I think once finally the Raiders lose, they'll go back down to earth. But for now, they beat the Steelers. They're 2-0 in the AFC North, the second toughest division in football. And Derek Carr continues to kind of make an MVP case for him. He's leading the league in passing yards, and it's not even close. He's leading the league in passing yards, 819 yards, and second place is 517 or 617. He is dominating right now through the air. So the Raiders shock the Steelers 26-17. This was my upset of the week. I had the Eagles beating the 49ers. It was a tight one, a super defensive battle. Neither offense really got going in this game. The 49ers didn't look as good this week as they did last week, and the same goes for Philadelphia. They didn't look as good offensively as they did a week ago. The Eagles lost this game. Devontae Smith, I believe it was Devontae Smith. Excuse me if I'm saying it wrong, but Jalen Hurts threw a fade route to, like I said, I think it's Devontae Smith. And he just barely got pushed out of bounds on that fade route. His toe barely touched White down the sideline, and he came back in and caught the ball, which is a penalty. And they ended up not getting points on that possession. The San Francisco 49ers blocked that field goal. If they get that touchdown, they win that game. So I liked the Eagles' chances in that game. Like I said, if they're hanging with the 49ers like that, I feel very confident in my 14-3 prediction for them. Next up was the Texans versus the Browns. And I'm so mad about this because the Texans win this game if Tyrod Taylor doesn't get injured. Tyrod Taylor was absolutely balling before he got injured in that one. He had, I think he played a quarter and a half. He was like 12 for 13, 120 yards, and a rushing touchdown, and he threw a touchdown. he was absolutely balling, and the Texans looked great again. We all kind of thought that the Texans were going to maybe be the worst team in football. And that is not the case at all. They have kind of came out and said, we're still a football team. We're still going to ball this year. And that's exactly what they did. And they lose to the Browns 31-21. But I think if Tyrod Taylor stays in that game, the Texans win that ball game. In other news there in that game, Baker Mayfield went down. He came back into the game. He's supposed to get some tests today to kind of see how if there's any legit injury there. He came and played the rest of the game, so I'm thinking he's probably fine. They'll probably just recover him and rest him, and he'll do the things he needs to do this week to get better for next week. Next up was the Broncos versus the Jaguars. This was an easy pick. This was going to be the Broncos. They look good right now. Excuse me, get a quick water break. The Broncos look really good. This is another one. Broncos are kind of in that similar situation as Washington is, where if they could get an elite quarterback, they could be a Super Bowl contender. And the Broncos, not to say that Jameis Winston is elite, or excuse me, not Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater is elite, but he's playing very well in that offense. There was a clip last week of Von Miller, who's been with the Broncos his whole entire career. He was with them when they won the Super Bowl and with Peyton Manning and stuff like that. Von Miller was caught saying to Teddy Bridgewater he was giving him shades of 18. And if you don't know what that means, he was giving him shades of Peyton Manning, number 18. Which, that's Peyton Manning is arguably a top 3 quarterback of all time. If Von Miller's saying that you're giving him shades of that, that's saying something. I always take the player's opinion, because the players are there. They're playing the game over anything else. They know what's happening, right? So they're going to start 2-0, and they're going to start 3-0 because they have the Lions next week. So they beat the Jags 23-13. Panthers stay hot. Like I said, I really like the Panthers odds this year. They went ahead and smacked the Saints 26-7. Sam Darnold's looking good. Sam Darnold's looking really good. It's just like I said, it's all about the situation you're in as a quarterback. Every single quarterback that's in the league is in the league for a reason. They're a good quarterback for a reason. It's all about situation. The Jets are a tire fire. They are awful. But he goes to a team that's got a great offensive weapons like Carolina and has a pretty decent, a young but decent defense. And he's playing well. He threw for 305 this week. I believe he had 300 yards last week too. Definitely making an early MVP conversation as well for Sam Darnold. Next up was the Rams versus the Colts. This was actually a lot closer game than I thought it was going to be. I thought the Colts offense was going to struggle to keep up with the Rams offense. I thought the Rams were going to put up a whole lot of points. It wasn't the case at all. It was a 27-24 game. Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford are on a whole nother level. I'm not going to say Megatron and Matthew Stafford type stuff, but Cooper Kupp with 163 yards and 2 touchdowns in that one really was the deciding factor. It was the fact that they could not stop Matthew Stafford from connecting with Cooper Kupp in that one. So the Rams were able to hold on and beat the Colts. They were 27-24. I'll make this one quick. The Bills demolished the Dolphins 35-0. Tua went down in that game. I watched him go down and watched him get carted off the field, and I actually thought it was his hip. I was like, oh no, he messed his hip back up again. Because if you remember at Alabama, he had the hip surgery, and he broke his hip, and that's why there was so much speculation coming out of college for Tua, because he was injury prone. And so he goes down again, but it was actually his ribs. It was his ribs, not his hip. So that's good news, is that it wasn't anything pre-existing like that, for sure. The one take I kind of had from that game is that the Bills' defense looked better than the Bills' offense. Josh Allen still has not looked great this year. And I don't know if that's because we're just overlooking it. It's just one of those things where he played so well last week that it was hard. It's going to be last year. It's going to be hard for him to kind of back that up again this year. Just kind of like how Lamar played so well in 2019. It was hard for him to kind of back that up in 2020. Josh Allen's going to kind of have that same kind of off year, I feel like, based on these first 2 weeks, how they've gone. Patriots are going to make a late playoff push, I feel like. Mac Jones is surrounded with a whole lot of veterans, whole lot of talent, really smart organization. The absolute opposite of the New York Jets and that awful organization. Zach Wilson, first 2 passes were interceptions. He threw 4 interceptions on the day, and he had 4 completions on the day. Zach Wilson, welcome to what Sam Darnold had to deal with the last 2 years. Zach Wilson's not a bad quarterback. He's in a really bad situation. That coaching staff is bad, that defense is bad, and that offense is horrific. The Jets are going to be the worst team in football this year. This was another one of my upsets I had. I had Bengals over the Bears. Joe Burrow threw 3 turnovers. He threw 3 picks in this game. They lost it 20-17. If Joe Burrow didn't have those turnovers, which is uncharacteristic for Joe Burrow. I saw a thing that said he had 5 interceptions and like 540 something pass attempt. Not 540 something. Excuse me. Had 5 interceptions in like 140 something pass attempts, and just last week in 20 pass attempts he had 3 picks. So very uncharacteristic game from Joe Burrow turnover wise. He didn't have that many turnovers. They probably would have won that game over the Bears, who I thought. I completely forgot that Justin Fields actually checked into this game. In true fashion, Andy Dalton scrambles out of the pocket, and he must have messed up something in his Achilles or something, because he was doing the whole, he was running down the field and then kind of skip-stepped and kind of looked back like he thought someone kicked his leg, and that's often what happens when someone tears their Achilles, is it feels like someone kicks you, and you kind of just you're taking a step and it kind of just pops, and you just kind of go, oh, kind of a little skip step. So Andy Dalton is out right now. Oh, that's the other quarterback that also got injured, Andy Dalton. So Justin Fields came in and he played really well. He led them to the victory, so there's Justin Fields for you. Bears fans can finally get what they've been waiting for. Kind of running through these last couple ones. Tom Brady continues to dominate, continues to make himself further and further the GOAT. He had 5 touchdowns, no picks. They dominated the Falcons 48-25. Vikings missed a last-second field goal to lose that one 34-31 to the Cardinals. Kyler Murray looks like he's the MVP, number 1 frontrunner right now, behind maybe only Russell Wilson. But if the MVP award got picked today, it would probably be Kyler Murray. Seahawks were up early in this Titans game, but they choked as Derrick Henry goes complete beast mode. Goes 35 carries for 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus 55 yards receiving. Derrick Henry, welcome to fantasy. 47 points from Derrick Henry in fantasy last week. So the Titans offense got firing. I think Julio Jones had 128 yards receiving too. So Titans look good. Titans look good now. I thought after last week, I didn't like them coming into the season already, and then they played bad last week, and I was like, see, I told you, Titans aren't looking good. They look good. They were able to thrash the defense like the Seahawks defense. Cowboys win a nail-biter versus the Chargers. Justin Herbert, neither offense could really get going in this game. I don't blame this loss on Justin Herbert at all. I blame this loss. Dallas got their running game going. And last night, when Dallas doesn't throw 60 times a game, they win games. Look at that. Magical. They win games. When there was this crazy stat out there that Dak Prescott had thrown, he's the first quarterback in NFL history to throw like 5 400-plus yard games and lose all those games. When they lose when they throw the ball that much. And Dak Prescott, they got their run game going. And so they won that game because of that run game. And then lastly, the Ravens versus the Chiefs. I have a couple sound clips here that I'll play for you from last night if you weren't able to catch the game. So a little situation here. Chiefs have the ball, minute 38 left to go. It's 35-36. Ravens are up 1. Chiefs are at the 33-yard line. Literally seconds before this play, I said, oh, it's over. I was watching this game in my living room. I said, we gave the Chiefs 2 minutes. We gave the Chiefs too much time. They're going to run right down the field, and they're going to get a field goal, and they're going to win this game. And we fought our hearts out, but we're going to lose to the Chiefs again. And this wasn't the case. On 2nd and 2 from the 33-yard line, this is what happens. at the 32-yard line. They run the football as they should. They should be running the football in that situation. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbles it. And who was it that got the fumble and got the fumble recovery and had a fantastic game last night? Was my honorable mention Defensive Rookie of the Year, Odafe Oweh. A lot of people were like, oh, who's this? Who's Odafe Oweh? I don't even know who this kid is. No, had no sacks last year at Penn State. Well, he dominated last night. Had a very good game for a rookie. And so that would give the Ravens the ball with a minute 20 seconds left. Kansas City still had all 3 timeouts. And so I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, we won. We did it. Whoa, we beat the Chiefs. But we still had to run out the clock because, like I said, the Chiefs still had all 3 of their timeouts. So we still had to run out the clock. And so this was the situation. They run it first down, run it second down. Right at this point, they're they're snapping it to Lamar, and Lamar's just running the football. That's all they're doing at this point. On 3rd and 7, they get a 6-yard completion to Sammy Watkins to make it 4th and 1. And then Kansas City uses their last timeout. I was like, okay, we're right around midfield. We're going to get a good punt from our all-pro punter, Sam Cook. And Patrick Mahomes is going to have to try to drive 90-ish, 80-something yards to try to get into field goal range and win this game. But no timeouts. But no. The Ravens went full 2019 mode. And John Harbaugh said, Lamar, you want to go for it? And Lamar said, heck yeah, I want to go for it. So 4th and 1 from the 46-yard line. This is what happens. And that decision did win the football game. 4th and 1. You're on your side of the field. You're going to give, if you don't get this first down, they're going to kick a field goal and they're going to win the game. Lamar Jackson takes a snap from the pistol, runs it right up the middle, first down, ball game. Could not believe it. I was losing my mind, and that led to the Ravens clocking out the game there because the Chiefs had no timeouts remaining. Absolutely ecstatic, absolutely wild. Must-win game, and we got it. Super excited. Of course, I'm a Ravens fan, so I'm gonna blow it a little bit out of proportion. But on a serious note, I like to try to have a little bit of bias just to have fun, but I try to still look at it from a all-around perspective. And this is what I want to say about that win last night. Lamar, let's kind of run back through Lamar's career so far in his first 4 years in the NFL. In 2018, Lamar comes into the league and they say, I'll draft you, right? I'll draft you, but you got to move to wide receiver. You got to move to running back. And Lamar said, no, I'm a quarterback. I'm a quarterback. So if you're not going to play me at quarterback, I don't want to play for your team. So in 2018, they tell the kid he can't play quarterback in the NFL. Well, he takes the Ravens that were 3-5 after Joe Flacco gets injured, goes 6-1 in his rookie season, and he wins the division, makes the playoffs as a rookie. Then in 2019, after having that bad game against the Chargers, they say, oh, Lamar can't pass. Defenses have figured him out because the Chargers were the first team to play him back-to-back, like play him twice, and they figured him out. And they're like, oh, defenses have figured him out. Lamar's going to have a really bad year in 2019. Actually, he just happened to go 13-3, 3 perfect passer rating games. Only 2 other quarterbacks in NFL history have done that. It's an NFL record. Leads the league in passing touchdowns, and is league MVP. Right? So then the haters go, oh, after the loss of the Titans, the haters go, in 2020, they say, oh, well, Lamar can't win a football game, or he can't win a playoff game. Then, in 2020, after a COVID-drenched season for the Ravens, gets them into the playoffs. Not the prettiest way, but gets them into the playoffs. And what do? He wins a playoff game. Then they say, well, Lamar, man, he can't beat Mahomes. He can't play from behind. He's still not an elite passer. He's a good quarterback, but not an elite passer. Let me tell you something. Justin Herbert Lamar Jackson is currently beating Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, and Dak Prescott in yards per pass. Per pass, Dak Prescott. Okay? And he's only 0.3 yards off of Derek Carr, the league leader in yards per pass. The league leader. Then, Lamar has a better completion percentage than Tom Brady and Josh Allen. Those are elite passing quarterbacks, right? Right? Yeah, those are elite passing quarterbacks. Right, okay. How about QBR? Lamar Jackson has a better QBR than Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, and Matt Ryan. Oh, look, those are elite passing quarterbacks, right? Oh, but Lamar, he's not elite. He's not an elite passer, right? Would you say Matt Ryan is an elite passer? Fastest quarterback to 55,000 yards in NFL history. Matt Ryan's an elite passer. Josh Allen was second in the MVP votings last year. Elite passer. Tom Brady, elite passer. Justin Herbert, elite passer. Stop telling me Lamar Jackson's an elite passer. Stop that. Then, you say he can't play from behind. Well, what's he do last night? He's down 11 points the whole game. He's down the whole entire game. What's he do? He comes back and wins. He wins a game from behind. Oh, but he still can't beat Mahomes. Oh, what did he do last night? He beat Mahomes. He beat Mahomes from behind after throwing 2 picks and having a horrible start to the game. I feel like for some reason, oh yeah, and by the way, he's third in the league in rushing. I'm not a running back. I'm a quarterback. Not bad for a running back. I don't understand why every time Lamar Jackson does something to shut up the haters, they just got to create something else, right? If Patrick Mahomes makes a mistake, it's whatever, it's whatever. If Josh Allen makes a mistake, it's Josh Allen, it's whatever, he's fine. If Lamar Jackson makes mistakes, he gets raked over the coals. All his career has been told he can't. He can't pass. Wins the passing title, touchdown title. He can't win a playoff game, wins a playoff game. He can't come from behind, he comes from behind. He's not an elite quarterback in this NFL. 81% win percentage as a quarterback. Stop telling me Lamar Jackson isn't an elite quarterback. Stop telling me that he is. Lamar Jackson last night did things no other quarterback in this league could do. And that's what I really hate, because when everybody talks about Lamar Jackson, they try to compare him to Patrick Mahomes, and I don't understand why we all do this. I don't understand why we try to compare everybody to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is once in a lifetime talent. Nobody will ever be Patrick Mahomes, okay? I like Patrick Mahomes. He's baller's best quarterback in football, by far. He does things that just blow my mind. But so does Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson does things that blow my mind as well. Lamar Jackson can't do what Patrick Mahomes could do. And Patrick Mahomes can't do what Lamar can do. They're their own separate players. It's crazy because I'm a Bucks fan and I'm a Ravens fan. I'm a Giannis fan. Giannis and Lamar are my 2 favorite athletes in professional sports. Giannis got told he can't ever win because all he does is dunk in a shooter's league. He doesn't shoot the ball in a shooter's league. Yes, he can. Giannis scored 50 in the NBA Finals and won an NBA championship. Just running and dunking the ball and not shooting it in a shooter's league. Lamar runs the football in a passer's league, and he gets the job done. It gets the job done. So what he doesn't throw for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns. Everybody has a way that they like to do it, and that however their way is to win the football game. It doesn't matter how it is. It doesn't have to be. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 450 and 6 touchdowns. Lamar's going to run for 200 and 1 for 150 and have 5 touchdowns. Whatever you got to do to win a football game is whatever you got to do to win a football game. I think that's all that should matter at the end of the day. I hate that we compare Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson to 2 completely different players. Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo are 2 of the best players in the NBA. They're 2 completely different ways of playing the game. Giannis averages 30. Steph Curry averages 30. Steph Curry averages 5 threes a game. Giannis averages 5 dunks a game. It's different ways of playing the game. Running short on time here, so I just wanted to say real quick that the defense played really great. For the first time in a long time as a Ravens fan, the Ravens made adjustments. The last 3 times we played the Chiefs, we sent a whole lot of blitzes and we got torched. The Ravens only sent 12% blitzes last night, which is pretty wild compared. That's the worst, or not the worst, but the least amount of blitzes that we've ever sent with Dan Martindale as our defensive coordinator. And they ended up, instead of doing blitzes, we were doing layered pressure. This thing called layered pressure, where we send 4, right? And then as Patrick Mahomes kind of starts to move around the pocket, a 5th guy comes, a 6th guy comes, a 7th guy comes. The backers that are sitting in their zones, and they're playing as a spy kind of on Patrick Mahomes, they just go and they get Patrick, and it worked really well last night. Odafia Weah had a layered pressure last night where he went after Patrick late, and that's when Patrick threw that pick because Odafi came up and he made that late layered pressure. Wanted to talk a little bit more about the defense, but I kind of ran out of time here. Next week we have Detroit. We got to stay focused. We need to win these games against teams that we're better than, especially after we beat Kansas City. Now we're 1 up on Kansas City. We need to stay 1 up on them so that we can get that number 1 seed by the end of the year. Again, I wasn't able to get to fantasy football this week just because we had to go over my predictions for the year. And now all my predictions are over. I have my AFC, NFC. I'm in my awards. So that's all finished now. Great having Trey Palmer in here again. Trey Palmer's off to a great start this year. He's going to have another All-American worthy year this year. The Ravens, like I said, they play the Lions next week. Super excited about that win versus Kansas City. Huge for us. I wanted to tell you guys real quick, too, before I go here. I normally address this as the Larry show. That was kind of that was an old inside joke from high school. My nickname used to be Larry. I'm going to kind of take this show a little bit more seriously now. I've been posting it on my social media. I've been recording it and posting it and stuff. So I'm actually now going to call this the Take My Shot sports show. And that's going off of me saying I'm going to go ahead and take my shot at this radio sports broadcasting world. So it's me taking my shot. And then I'm also going to give you a shot of information, a quick little hour shot of information. So the show is now going to be called the Take My Shot Sports Podcast. And just thought I'd give you guys that little update on the show real quick. Next week, we'll fully get to talk about games in depth a lot better because I'm not going to be doing any predictions. So next week will be what it should be on a week-to-week basis, going over my time here. So thank you guys for listening so much to the show. Again, this is the Take My Shot podcast. You've been listening to KBCU 88.1 FM, broadcasting from North Newton, Kansas, the campus of Bethel,